And hey there, guys. Welcome back. This is Rain Grim again for PokeProfessionals. We have the esteemed Big B with us today. Go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, Brandon.
Hi there. My name is Big B or Brandon. I am a TTRPG content creator for several different things. The game Yulfe, you might have seen around, and some economy supplements.
Which I'm hoping we'll be able to discuss a bit. We haven't actually talked about economy in this series yet, so there's going to be a lot of interesting things to touch on there. But I think the big thing we want to start with is what kind of Pokemon trainer would you want to be if you were in a Pokemon campaign?
So hmm, if I were a Pokemon trainer, want to make a Pokemon trainer for a campaign, I would want to go with something that uh, probably utilizes some status ailments, something that can both help my team and hinder the enemy at the same time.
Hmm.
I think that'd be kind of a fun way to throw some chaos into the mix.
I'm assuming that you'd want to get it like pretty. I got an idea. So Trickster is the class that's really good at just messing with everybody about certain status elements. It's their main gimmick. Is there anything that you want to add to that?
Um, when it comes to that, I'm kind of all eggs in one basket for better or worse kind of guy. So I like having my main focus, my efforts into kind of one area. So my starter, I think, is kind of going to be my main focus when it comes to
When
uh,
you played through, your
growing
starter
strong.
was like 30 levels higher than everybody else, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think I got some ideas. Who do you want as your starter?
When it comes to status ailments, I think one of my favorite has to be confusion. So I think a Pokemon that really embodies that well would probably be Spinda.
I mean, Spinda is the perpetually confused Pokemon. That does kind of suit it, I think. So I'll make you a busted Spinda. I can make this work. While we're discussing that, you were talking about, hey, this is what this show is about. Me making you busted trainers to have in your first campaign, but it's also talking about stuff you've made. So you mentioned that you did a book that's based on the economy in TTRPGs. Do you mind telling us a bit about that subject a little bit?
Well, I've made a few different one-page PDFs that go into different kind of economic systems that people can implement for their own D&D and or other TTRPG games. I've had one called the Guild Economy, which sets up the thoughts and revs, which are kind of like the dollars and cents, and it really sets up the idea that the system is based off of essentially corporations, but in this fantasy setting is guilds, and who you know and who you're connected with raises or lowers the price of various things that you're going to buy. Um, there's a debt card, which is essentially someone who is given a card in a given area, whether it be a kingdom or a country, and essentially the government allots them the privilege to accrue debt on that card as a privilege of being a citizen of that area. So it's not as much buying or trading or using representative currency, but it's more of utilizing what you can in order to better the community around you.
Okay.
And there are various others too.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense when you get into that. Because a lot of times in TTRPGs, the economies make no sense. Like, because it's almost always based on player facing mechanics, like magic items, technical items, land, stuff like that. That's not really how economies are built. And yet, obviously, you're not going to make everything a simulationist game, but sometimes you do got to delve into that a smidge just to make it so that you're not just like falling apart at the seams, because you will have those people that poke at it. When you were making this, were there any like facets you were really trying to like exemplify?
Well, I think you kind of hit on it a little bit, is the accessibility of uh, economies in different TTRPGs, like D&D, for example. A lot of the economy boils down to how much gold is this thing or is this place. I mean, in most games that I've played or I've seen, barely anyone talks about silver or copper. No one talks about
Electrum.
electrum.
Not at all. It's almost there to be like this one city uses Electrum and we all make it a joke.
Yeah, exactly. But there's nothing interesting about this economy when it comes to, I have these coins and it's usually just a single coin. So what I wanted to do was either make it so that it is expressed, so that we aren't bogged down in like, okay, is there a conversion rate for X, Y, and Z thing when we really don't use 3/4 of the represented currency? Or are we actually going to get into the nitty gritty? Are we going to understand the ebbs and flows of how much something costs, how much something is worth with the people,
Exchange
and with
rates.
the exchange rates? Yeah. Um, Exchange rates, I will be the first to admit, when I started doing this, suck.
Yeah.
I hate trying to figure it out because it is so contextual, um, because you're trying to write for something that may or may not have certain elements to it that would change entirely what you're creating. But that's also kind of the fun thing, is to make it general enough that you are able to apply it to a wide swath of uh, different games or systems. So I find it both challenging and really enjoyable.
I mean, it makes sense. A lot of folks will delve into things they know. I know I do a lot of world building stuff because I like writing stories. I like doing that little bit. When you get into like to go, the reason I said exchange rates is because my partner is Greek. So, well, one of my partners is Greek, but we discuss a lot of this stuff, and they always like to talk about how like, well, oh, the money has gone down in Canada, what the effect is, and it's not always going to be applicable because more often than not, your players aren't going to be going to another country unless you're doing that kind of game. So you want to have those bits of information there for those that want it, but you can't make it a core concept because it's a niche option. It's a ribbon feature, essentially, is a lot of people would call
Mhm.
it. Before I forget too lost, we have made you a pretty busted Spinda. I'm not gonna lie. So it's not something I've actually done in these videos so far, but I couldn't have you have a Spinda that didn't have a status ailment move off the bat. So what I did is in the game itself, you're normally given an amount of money to spend on items. I'm going to assume that your trainer spent some money to give their Pokemon a move. So your Spinda has swagger, both literally and figuratively, because this Spinda is busted. It is decided that it's going all in on speed and attack. It does not matter anything else. It's going to hit somebody. It's going to hit somebody hard. If it lives the next hit is a question, though. On that note, I'm going to start working on your trainer. So I think the concept I want to go with is giving you, there's a thing called Stat Ace, where you pick one stat to be just all in on. And I think speed matches your vibe. And then I'm going to give you Trickster. Trickster is that one I mentioned earlier that does a lot of fun stuff with different status ailments, not just confusion, but all the status ailments. I will have to give you Ace Trainer just because of a prerequisite requirement. Prerequisite requirement, and that's staying in. We're leaving that in the video. People are going to laugh at me in the comments. With that, though, I think I'm going to prioritize your Guile over anything else because I feel like your character is going to be a little bit sneaky, a little bit like, oh, hey guys, how's it going? And gut punch. But you also need command for the other stuff for that. The big question, though, is what stuff do you want to be bad at?
So, if I'm thinking of something that I am not great at, I would say I feel like this trainer isn't good with technology in general.
Hmm.
Kind of a bit of a uh, klutz when it comes to that. Um, so I think that general technology would be would have to be one.
Yeah, so we'll lower down tech
Um,
ed to 1. I think that makes sense. So you need 2 more. What else are you
uh,
thinking? 'Cause I think what you're bad at really helps define a character almost better than what you're good at in some ways.
oh,
So the stuff that's on the list is like a lot of the athletics and acrobatic skills, like intimidation is also there, the stealth and survival. Combat is also one of them. There's also stuff like the different educational skills, perception, how well you are with occult information is also, well, that's part of the education skills.
now that you actually bring that up, that's a good point. I think I think that there's a sense of I guess chaotic focus would
Mm,
be the best way to put it.
that works.
Um, so I think that that kind of both helps and hinders. So I think that there's a hit to both perception and focus at the same time.
I
I
can
think
work
that's
with
kind of
that.
a
I think
yeah,
I think I like that vibe because it gives you the energy of like a guy who's always just moving. He's not actually paying attention to anything. He's just taking what he can get and keeps on going. I get
yes.
like this manic vibe, like not dangerous, but like, okay, keep moving. Don't get caught. Don't get noticed. Just keep on going ahead.
Just keep
I
moving,
like
just
that as
keep
a vibe.
going forward, forward,
So
forward.
I'll work with that. I like that as a vibe. But so we were talking about like exchange rates and all that. When you're thinking of things, what was the kind of like obviously you built this book because you wanted to focus in on economies and games. What was the thing that, like, obviously you thought something was lacking from the systems in general? What is the fantasy that you're hoping is going to be fulfilled by this book being used and implemented?
Well, these several different PDFs are great, in my opinion, for people that just want an extra flavor. Because my goal when it comes to TTRPG content creation in general is just to give people a different way of approaching a situation and giving them a different way to tell a story in a more enhanced way. Again, like I mentioned with the current economy in D&D, there's very little that can be done beyond just walk in shop, talk to the shopkeeper, give them gold. Beyond what a dungeon master can add with the flavor of the shopkeep themselves, the inherent economy doesn't tell the player anything other than gold. So I want to be able to add that flavor that says, okay, what guild did you come from? Okay, which card do you have from which country? And that will start to, uh, in a way, passively influence the story and influence the way that the players and dungeon master are going to tell that story in the most long-winded way to say I just want to add flavor to people's games.
Honestly, I vibe with that. Like, flavor is free, obviously, and I personally love rules in games, and I want games to have structure, but I also want them to feel lived in and just beyond the mechanics. Like, for me, I know for a lot of people, rules are this awful cage that you have to break free from. For me, it's the structure. It's literally the base that you, to make a bad analogy, it's the thing that coral reefs grow on. You can't grow from something without a solid base to be on top of. And the way it grows will differ for each thing. Like, if you have a solid rule structure, you can add so many options and flavors and cool things as long as you keep to that core powerful structure. If it's not solid, it'll fall apart. Um, Speaking of falling apart, your GM's life is going to fall apart when we're done with this. What I ended up giving you was, one second, pull this up. You needed to take Ace Trainer so you could take Stat Ace. Because Stat Ace, you have to have at least one Pokemon with the chosen stat at above 15 or more, which is why I spec'd out your Teddiursa to be so speedy. And they also needed to have Ace Trainer and at least Novice Command, which we did. Now, because we took Stat Ace, the way it works is your Pokemon gets bonuses to their speed stat for every five levels. Your Teddiursa currently has a speed because of Ace Trainer and Stat Ace of 25. Its third highest stat is 6. So yeah, your little Spinda is just sitting there doing this and just rockets up to somebody, just the Nani meme right there. Its speed evasion is 5. It is 1 away from the max evasion a Pokemon can have. So yeah, your Spinda is very fast. I also gave you 2 things from Trickster. You have Trickster's core ability, where if a Pokemon you have does any sort of status inflicting move, you then get to do a dirty trick against them, which is a different thing that I'm not going to fully go into, but it's basically little extra maneuvers or like tripping people and all that fun stuff. So your Pokemon, every time it does a status infliction, is just up there like gut punching a dude. And then I also gave you something called Stacked Deck, where wherever a Pokemon hits somebody that's suffering from a status condition, you get to apply an additional effect based on the type of status condition. So every time you apply status effects, you're just there gaining extra benefits off of it. So you're all up in that. So the next big thing is we need to ask, what kind of like stuff do you want extra? Now, we were talking about how you kind of wanted somebody that was quick, fast, on their feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I got some options. If you give me some freedom on this one, I think I got something funny I can do. But while I'm doing that, I kind of want to go back to, you were talking about how you wanted people to like explore and like enjoy some additional effects to things. When you were writing these PDFs, was there anything you were trying to avoid or prevent people from digging into? Was there any like side alleys that people fall into when they try to do this stuff and it ends up making the game less fun that you wanted to prevent them from doing?
Well, I don't discourage most things when it comes to player freedom or GM freedom when it comes to creating their own world. I don't have too much inbuilt into my systems to necessarily prevent anything from happening, but I do always have the philosophy going forward that people should always conduct themselves in a way that is beneficial for the entire group, the group that you play with. Because I've had a couple of people that I've asked for help and gotten some consultation on, and some of the questions I've received are a bit interesting as they ask about certain services and what those services may or may not cost and what you actually need in order to purchase these things and what the going rate is and blah, blah, blah.
Do I want to guess what these services are, or are we keeping it vague for YouTube?
I think YouTube is the YouTube audience is smart enough to guess exactly what I'm referring
I wanted
to.
This was more confirming for me because I'm sitting there going, "What is he saying?" Or, yeah.
Yeah, there's some interesting conversations I've had.
We have some folks that like to ask those interesting questions. I think we're all used to that.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with asking the question, but it's complicated to try and answer the question is the hard part.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so I think it's all about tact when it comes to being at the table and just remembering that just because something is easy for you or something that's acceptable to you and doesn't elicit a negative response for you doesn't mean that doesn't affect other people.
I think that's something that we often have to, like, when we're doing session zeros, for a lot of people, session zero is like a dirty word, but honestly, it's just checking in with people and seeing how they feel. And a lot of people don't tend to understand that, like, doing a check-in with people isn't you being woke, it's just you being respectful. Like for me, like
Yeah.
that
Being
type of thing is
decent.
kind of part and parcel. I've worked a lot of jobs in the past. I won't say the words of the jobs I've done in my past, but if you go to Blue Sky, I've talked about all the different weird stuff I've had to do for work. But for other people, that might just, one, not be a topic they're interested in discussing, or two, they might have reasons for being uncomfortable about it. So why would you? It's like, there's no taboo on it. I personally respect anybody that does do that type of profession, but you gotta be respectful of the people you're playing with.
Mhm.
That does actually make me ask the question: what's one of the weirder things that you think you've like plotted out in the book for like just in general? Like, I'm assuming you had to have like a general baseline of cost because that's usually how people do this. Is that how you guys did it for your PDF, or did you do a different way?
I did it a different way
Hmm.
as I don't have a baseline for costs necessarily. These PDFs are a very brief, it's a page
Yeah.
for each system. So basically, when it comes to determining costs, it depends on the system. Again, debt card, there is no cost. It's more about your country alliance. I have another one called Fur Trade, which is one that is an economy that usually takes place out in the wilderness, and based off of the hide that you collect from the game that you hunt, that determines the value of the currency you have essentially.
Hmm.
So all of it is hide trading. So like if you have a specific hide from a specific sized creature, then it is worth, let's say for the sake of making it easier in context, this is worth a silver, or if it's a bigger creature, it is worth a gold kind of
Kind of like the Red
system.
Dead Redemption system, where like different hides and the how well you got it without damaging it, that's makes it more important, more valuable. That type of vibe. That makes
Yes,
sense.
definitely.
Would you say that's probably one of the weirder ones you did, or you think that one's more like understandable because everybody understands like trade goods as a like bartering system kind of vibe?
That's definitely along the lines of more understandable as I'm starting to branch out, and I have a few different ones that I'm working on that are much weirder and then going to be that are a bit harder to write because it's a bit harder to exactly explain succinctly and quickly.
Well, it's a single
Uh,
page, like you said. Did you want to give us a
yeah.
spoiler on one of them? I'm actually kind of curious.
So one of them was going to be um, still working on the name for it, but it was going to be a Monster Hunter economy, and not to be confused with Monster Hunter the game.
Yeah,
Um,
I was hoping you weren't
but
trying to steal
what
an
it is,
IP there.
yeah, that's a whole nother beast,
Hmm.
no pun intended. But essentially, what it would be is silver is an extremely useful commodity as it is effective against undead, lycanthropes, etc., typically. So essentially, there would be different kinds of silver that are gathered in different areas, whether that be some sort of nearby a vampire coven or as the result of a vampire coven. I have ideas exactly how it forms. That I'm still kind of hard to put into words at the moment,
Yeah.
but essentially where you get these silvers will determine how valuable and how useful the silver is in hunting. So that kind of going back to the fur trade determines how valuable it is. So if it's something that is particularly useful against like a master vampire, obviously that would be something that would be higher in the value of trade.
So it basically it kind of this is one that's more aimed toward less being like a generality, more like you kind of want to base a campaign a little bit on this because it's inherent to how you want to handle dealing with things.
Yeah, or it could even be a mini economy inside a larger
Yeah.
economy, a specific trade among specific artisans, if you will.
Somebody gets some wrong type of silver mixed in with their stuff, and now one person's chasing you down because they really want it. Like, Wait, you stole my vampire. That's my
Exactly.
vampire silver. Come back.
Yeah, you got the good stuff. Wait, no.
Wait, that was supposed to be my other pocket. Come back. Why is this silver have blood on it? uh, so I'll switch over to going back to your character sheet. So I had a little time to work on it. So going back to you being like a very quick on the jump kind of guy, I gave you, I upgraded your acrobatics using basic skills. And then I just grabbed you some fun stuff to fiddle with. This one was going to be neat. So I gave you dynamism. So your initiative is increased by your guile rank. So the more your guile goes up, the faster you get to act in any sort of round of combat. Because it's just you being quick on the draw, clever on that vibe. I also gave you acrobat, which just makes your long jump and your regular high jump longer. You can jump and go further. Again, doing like gotta be on the thing. And then this one I thought would be just fun for flavor. I gave you expert manipulator. You gain a +2 whenever somebody tries to manipulate you, so you're better at not being manipulated. And when you have you have manipulate maneuvers that your character can do in a scene, you only expend your use of that if you succeed. So you can keep going until you actually hit it with it. So manipulation maneuvers can be like Bon Mont and all that. I'm not going to get into it. If you guys are watching this video, I'm going to hope that you've watched my Pokemon discussion video, so I don't have to go over these. But the books are also out there. But I just made your guy exceptionally good at just getting off all sorts of fun little neat tricks and never getting caught. So I just thought that'd be fun for you. You're currently probably the fastest trainer I've ever built in this one. When we're done, you're just gonna be quick draw McGee. You're like, this fight isn't gonna last long. Badoof. Or Badoof, I should say. So obviously that was like one of the weirder ones you've done. You were speaking earlier about how you like had a lot of people outreach to you about questions on different things. When you were discussing this, what was some of the stuff that like you had to leave out that you would have left in if you had the space, or like stuff that you felt like other people want and you might come back to?
Oh, when it comes to cut content, that is a tricky sort. A lot of the stuff that, a lot of the stuff that people helped me with was the math involved when it came to some of the conversions, because again, I'm just not good with that. But when it comes to things I've wanted to add or subtract, I've had ideas where I've wanted to essentially make things a little bit more complicated. Add in, we'll go back to the fur trade. I've wanted to add in, couple extra layers, couple extra levels of currency in that. And I've had people say that gets a little bit too confusing after it gets past a certain number. So even though I had ideas for going above and beyond, I'm like, there's a difference between adding stuff to enrich and make the world feel, or at least the system feel, a little bit more real, like people came up with it, and kind of being self-indulgent. And I've had people reel me back from being a little bit too, in my own headspace.
There's a little bit of that. There was an episode of the Magic School Bus that this is kind of reminding me of. Arnold kept like wanting to make a bigger and more powerful sounding instrument, so he kept adding stuff like, oh, this will make it sound big, like a line, all that. And eventually you realize that sometimes you just need to subtract some stuff, and you're adding too much, and it's making what you want to make big weaker. So is that what you're kind of like? You're trying to put hats on a hat, and it's like you don't need that. Pull it back. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely feel that. Whenever you're doing any sort of creating in a space, the hardest part is killing your darlings. It's like, man, this was such a well-written paragraph. It's got such a great way of making it. It's like, cool, but it doesn't add to you understanding how to use this. It's got to go. It's like, no, come back.
No.
I feel that very much so. Next thing we're going to have you do is, speaking of you being a speedy dude, what do you want your stats to be? So the way PTU works is you get 10 in your HP and 5 in your other stats. So now you get to decide where you want to put the other ones. You get 10 extra stats to a lot, and you can only put up to 5 in one set at a time. So the cap in any one set is 5. So you can min-max and do 5 and 2, or spread them along. And which would you like to do?
Should I go with let me see real quick here.
I will tell you that personally, I'm probably going to get flack for this in the chat if anybody here plays P2 as well. I personally think speed is probably one of the best stats to invest into. It does make you a bit glass cannony, but typically your trainer is not the one up in the fray anyways. Hopefully. Unless your character is built to be that way, in which case you're going to have other things for that anyways.
Very true. I think I'll just invest into speed.
Right. And then you
myself.
So, like to the cap of 5, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
And then you have 5 more to a lot. So it's up to you. HP is a good one. A defensive stat is also good, either regular defense or special. It's really up to you on that one. Stealer's choice.
I think I will take I have 5 points left, and
you have 5 points left. You don't have to put them all in one spat. You can split them. The way the defenses work is basically evasion is based on every 5 you have in a stat. So for example, you have a speed set of 10 right now with the 5 you allotted. So your evasion is 2. When you have in physical defenses like defense and special defense, that evasion, if they hit you anyways, you subtract your defense from the damage dealt first. With speed, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
But speed can be applied to any evasion.
Okay. I think I'm going to put a little bit into HP. So I think I'm going to put 3 into HP.
You got it.
And 2 into physical defense.
You got it. So that jumped your HP from 42 to 51, which is a pretty nice jump. And your defense is going to be 7. That's a pretty solid defense score. On that note, though, I think another thing I kind of want to ask you, just to revert back to you talking about your system. We talked about the things you tried to avoid. We talked about the things that you had to lose. And we already kind of touched on the things you want to go into the future. What would be your ideal application of this in a game going live? Let's say somebody was playing Starfinder or Pathfinder or something like that, and they wanted to introduce these mechanics. What do you think is really going to benefit them in that play? Is it going to make it easier to them to run because there's going to be more structure on that? Or do you think it's going to make them want to role play into it a bit more?
I think it's going to make them want to engage with the system of the economy itself. It's more of a player and character investment because it will feel like more is rewarded in, again, depending on which system you're taking.
Yeah.
But it will feel like more is rewarded when you have something higher of value. It will make everything from lower value to higher value feel like it's useful to some degree, or at least has a use.
Yeah.
Because even the things that are the lowest level on my economic models are still things that can be used in economies and still can be brought up or thought of as a utility, even if it's not the most utilitarian, I guess.
That makes sense. Like, fine art is nice and it holds a nice value, but generally, most people aren't going to be out there going, okay, I need to get me some fine art type of deal.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. When you're speaking about it, like in economic values and all that, the thing that comes to my mind is whenever I've done systems where I wanted people to engage with purchasing and selling and all that, I tend to default to things like going to auctions or going to like stores, and like everybody wants to have the magical Kmart where they show up and it's like, I need a sword with flames. I need a bow that summons a skeleton when I shoot it, and I need a mini gun that says pew pew. And I think that kind of detracts from things a little bit, because then it's just like, if it's that easy to access it, then it's not as fun, and it doesn't make them feel magical in my mind. It just makes it feel like it's mundane, which is weird when you have a minigun that says pew pew as you shoot it. When you're setting these up, were there any risks that you felt that might happen just from people that might try to manipulate the economy to make it easier for them to get things that might not be good for them to have? Like, how should I, level scaling? Like, did you worry that people might try to manipulate the economy on this, or is it not how the thing works and I'm off base?
Well, it I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but depending on the economy,
Yeah.
sometimes it is almost encouraged. Like the guild economy is all about trading and getting yourself in on certain groups so that you can have better prices or more access to more valuable things. And sometimes you might do that as, let's say, maybe a spy for one group, infiltrate another group, see what they're doing, and somehow sabotage that group to make your original group more profit. Like, so sometimes the system does reward that. However, if you're in a system like Debt Card and you start taking that which isn't yours, and you're already given free reign to acquire the needs that you already have, then there are punishments that are dealt out in that system, as there are people that are keeping an eye out for it. And you might have a bit of a rude awakening when you find a knock at your door after you've taken your neighbor's goat.
So
yeah,
there's an implied like justice or like reverb depending on the different ones. Like, you can't, I don't want to say communist market, but like, you can't, there's going to be repercussions based on the type of system where you're going to have to be aware of the economy you're fluctuating in, I guess.
There are consequences to your actions.
I do love it when there are consequences to actions, as I've been quoted to say. I'm kind of curious, like, to go back to your prior thing about like when you were doing the guild card based systems, so the intent is kind of like manipulating the social structures of those around you is how you get ahead, is kind of what you're going for, which makes sense for a guild. Did you give any tips or leeway for either players or GMs to how they would adjudicate that properly? Because that does sound like one where it could get a smidge dangerous of like people being a little toxic, but like, I'm not saying that you would be. Were there any things that you tried to prevent on that one specifically?
That is something that I will take as a bit of a learning curve for me, as there are ways that the system on the outside could possibly be manipulated, and I don't really have much inbuilt to stop this. I again, it should be considered, as, from my personal standpoint, do what's best for the group. Try not to be a bad player or an intentionally bad player or DM or GM. But that is something that going forward I have thought about implementing and ensuring that it is clear. Don't start being a toxic player just because it might benefit you, in the sense that in game you might have more fictional money.
People do love them their
Yeah.
fictional money. I've spoken with a couple different homebrew creators, both through these PokeProfessional interviews and just in general online. And I think one of the biggest consensus is that anybody that makes anything will agree, as much as you try, you can't design around assholes. Like, there's only so much you can do. People will try to find some way of arguing some grammar choice in the design is meant to imply that they get whatever they want all the time. There's only so much you can do. this wasn't meant to be like I wasn't trying to imply that you didn't design for it. It's just also when you're making these designs, you're designing for the economy. You're not designing for the one guy that's trying to daddy warbucks his way into success by stabbing everybody up to the way to the top. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
It reminds me, there was a, not to go on a tangent, but just reminds me, when I was playing in a West Marches server, I literally had to get an actual literal accountant. He was a player in the server with me, and I was like, hey, can I borrow you for a bit? Because we had one player who was given way too much leeway because he was a friend of the GM. And we're like, we had to track every transaction he'd done on the server over like several days, figuring out where he was getting his money. Because we're like, there's no way you could have this amount of money. So we're literally getting flowcharts and spreadsheets tracking his EXP and his gold and his selling and what he's buying. And it's like, he could not have had all this. I might have to link that one down on the bottom. It was one of those times where it's like, I literally had to get an accountant to track somebody once. And that's part of, I think that's part of why I'm so apprehensive on economy manipulation. Because like, I know people that would actually try to manipulate the economy. Just full stock market. Buy pork bellies now. I think that's why I've been like discussing it on like on that thing, because like you lock on. But I am curious, just because I don't want to get us locked too much into me being like, watch my videos, is we've reached kind of one of the fun parts where we've given you your edges, we've given you your features, we've given you the most busted spinda known to man. The spinda will make men cry and women just want to be them. I don't know how I want to make that sentence work. But the next fun thing is, I want you to describe what your name is for your trainer and what they are, like what their description would be if you were describing them to a group.
Say, names are
Names are
real.
hard.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd be one of those people that has like a nickname and nobody knows what their actual name is. It's just like, oh yeah, that's like Slippery Jack, or that's Four Finger Slim, or whatever.
Yeah, we could. I immediately thought of the name Shadow, and all the meme just came to my head, and I
mean Edgy the Hedgy?
Edgy the
Shadow the Hedgehog, Edgy the Hedgy.
You know, his name could just be short for Edgy, and just call him Ed.
We'll call him. You want to call him Ed?
Yeah.
Just because it was funny, you could call him Ed the Hedgehog, and then like give him a last name.
Oh my god,
Ed
that
Emerald.
Is so funny.
Ed Emerald, and his nickname's the Hedgehog.
Oh god. Yes, I want this.
You like that?
I want this.
Ed the Hedgehog Emerald.
Oh my god. This reminds me of my very first D&D character. It was a complete troll character.
Sometimes you need to have jokes. Sometimes you need jokes.
And as for what he looks like, see, I love a fast character, but I also love a fast character that doesn't look like they should be fast.
Honestly, I vibe with it.
So I would like, because I also like making characters that are my size. So I would have this guy be a very tall individual, heavy set, and he would appear in a relaxed attire, one that could appear like an undershirt underneath, maybe a black coat, white undershirt, black coat, maybe some torn up jeans, some beat up sneakers, uh, just showing how forward thinking he is and how he's not focused on what is currently happening, but just where he's going to be.
Next score.
Uh,
Next trick. What do I got?
yes, just keep going, just keep
I
going.
feel like he's definitely one of those people that does like 3-card Monty or something, or are you thinking something different?
Oh, I would absolutely love this guy to be like someone who pulls a card trick like $5. Trying if I can guess your card out of this pile, then you pay me. If I don't, I pay you.
I didn't mean to direct you into this direction, but it's like as soon as you're like, oh, I want a trickster, I want something that's all in on speed. I'm like, speed and tricky. That immediately makes me think like Carnival Barker, those guys that do 3-card Monty, the little ball trick guys, those ones that are always just trying to get their bag and get on with it. I just like the vibe. So you already told us the only thing that's really left is 2 things. I've been forgetting to do these. We already nicknamed your starter, didn't we? No, we did not. We need to nickname your starter.
Okay, what would be a good nickname for Ed the Hedgehog Emerald
Spinda.
and his partner? Yeah, his Spinda. Okay. Um.
Big question is, where did you get the nickname Hedgehog from? That's gonna be fun to develop in the game.
Oh God. I can already see the GM saying, "Thanks, appreciate this is what you give me." Um.
There's just a
Let's
whole
see.
backstory where like he like stole a truck full of goods and it turned out it was all hedgehogs going to a pet store or something. I don't know.
uh, you know, because I I kind of got a bit of nostalgia when I was thinking back to Spinda, choosing Spinda as a
As a
uh
kid.
as the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a kid and now as the focus for this character. And one of my personal favorite games that kind of went to the wayside was Naughty Bear.
That one
Is
doesn't sound
basically
familiar.
that one is about it's basically a slasher parody,
Hmm.
but with teddy bears. Um, and I learned that Spinda was or is based off of a couple different things, but one of them being uh, a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
Uh, given that it's 3 foot, like 6 inches tall and 11 pounds, like the thing is light enough to float on air.
I'm pretty sure, one
Um,
second, Spinda. I'm actually kind of curious now. I'm going to go look up its Bulbapedia thing, which is always wild when you read the Bulbapedias on these guys. They are 3'7" and usually about 11 pounds.
yeah, like that should be able to float like a balloon. That is huge for being 11 pounds. Um, but I was thinking because of the relation to the game and because the main character's name is this, I was thinking it might be kind of cute to have my Spinda named Naughty.
Naughty. You know, the funny thing is, Naughty is a nature in Pokemon, but your Spinda's nature is skittish because you wanted to pop your speed as high as you could get it. So
It's
you
a
have a
mess that
naughty,
he puts
skittish
on.
Spinda. And then the last thing we need to do based on your trainer is we just needed you to tell us what the name of your background is. So it's usually like a 2 or 3 thing. It's like wandering creator, carnival barker, just something like that.
Yeah, where I could have sworn I had it. Um, uh,
Oh, did you come up with one already?
I thought I did, but I did not write it down if I did. Um,
There's a lot going on.
yeah, there is. I would say, um, hmm,
Because you're high guile, high command, and pathetic attack, perception, and focus. What would the name of that skill background be?
Chaos. No.
Chaos.
Oh God.
Oop,
Um.
I accidentally hit the wrong thing, so people just got a quick blurb of my be right back thing from when I stream. Whoops. I meant to type that here. I like chaos. You can rip off chaos. I was gonna say chaotic carnival, or chaotic carny or something.
All I'm thinking is purely adjectives and not an actual occupation or
You don't need to have
thing.
one. You could just call it the chaotic background.
Let's go with that for fun.
It doesn't have to be long and difficult. This isn't a novel. You're just the chaotic background. You don't need more details than that. Who are you? You got a warrant? Why are you asking questions? So
Am I free to leave?
Yeah, am I free to leave? Can I go? So we have Ed Hedgehog Emerald with his Spinda Naughty. The fastest Spinda known to man. I'm pretty sure your Spinda flies purely for the fact that it yeets itself so hard. Just boy. So I think we're kind of getting close on the tail end of where I wanted to let this go so people aren't stuck with a super long show, though I'm having a lot of fun with this. I think the last thing I kind of want to ask you before we get into the bit is just, do you mind telling us where we can find you and your projects, anything that you're going to be working on in the future? I'm going to have that written down in the description down below for all the people that are watching. But just for the audio's sake, where can we find you?
So you can find me on Blue Sky at bigbiz ... And me on my Ko-Fi page under the same name. Big B is DOT. I don't have too many other places, but I am active on various Discords, including the very one from here. I have a TikTok that I've been kind of dropping the ball on, I will admit, but
You're doing better than me. They banned me twice. All I did was upload my YouTube shorts. The first time they just shadow banned me. The second time they just straight up banned me. I never got an answer back why. It's been the hardest thing for getting anybody to respond to a message. It's worse than EA games, and that's saying something.
That's painful.
It is. But so TikTok, and there was one other place?
I think it was just TikTok. You can find me there at BigBTTRPG. I make videos sometimes on my new economy supplements, sometimes Yulfe, and sometimes my random madness thoughts. So yeah.
In that case, I'll make sure I have all of that linked down below for everybody to find. I think I accidentally hit be right back again on this thing. I'm doing this on OBS. I'm doing it by myself. It's very hard to pay attention to all the screens I got going on. So just in case I did accidentally cut you off, everything they did just mention will be down in the description down below, along with their character sheet if you guys want to check out the inspiration and get some ideas for your own chaotic little troublemaker idea for the future. I liked this idea so much because it's the first of the ones I've done that's been 3 classes at the same time. It's also been the most chaotic one because everybody's like, okay, I'll focus in on being like a researcher. I've used Chronicler a couple times in these. You're like, no, I'm making a gremlin. Help me make a gremlin. I want to be a problem and a threat.
The fact that there will be issues is not a threat, it's a spoiler.
It's a spoiler. Like the cool thing is like your character and your Pokemon aren't dangerous because we metagamed or power built or anything like that. They're just dangerous because they're so fast, but it's also fair because all it takes is one hit.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a look at their HP. Their HP stat is 35. So it takes 1, maybe 2 solid hits and they're out. Yeah. But the thing is, they don't need to all they need to do is hit first.
Yeah. And they will.
You
won't even see it coming.
I'm going to let you know, For a level 10 Pokemon, 25 speed is ridiculous. Like, I'll put it this way. You can't see it right now, but when you watch this video later and when I show you your sheet, if I didn't give you a nature that boosted speed, Spinda's base speed is 6. So your class and all the stuff we did, times 4 its speed. Actually, times 5 its speed, essentially. 6, 12. Yeah, times 4. But yeah, that's a very, very fast Spinda. You've unlocked the world with your Spinda, just none.
The Spinda is now the Flash.
Your Spinda is the Flash. So the funny thing is, I'm honestly curious, because Spindas aren't actually typically don't have that much movement. So it has Overland 5 speed. I believe I wanted to either give you, there's a different kinds of training. I forgot to mention that. I think I wanted to give you Inspired or Agility training, because Agility training makes it so they have more movement. I forgot to ask you on that one. I think you probably want Agility so it can move more.
Yeah.
Let me change Inspired to Agility then. I think I gave you Inspired because it works better with like giving status conditions, but your Spinda is already giving status conditions. You want your Spinda to be able to get to the person it's trying to give a status condition to. On that note, though, I think that's where we're going to call things. So now we're going to do this fun thing where we wave to the camera and pretend that we're saying bye to people that aren't currently there, but will be when it's uploaded. So in that case, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
See ya.